Hello, I am Cheryl B. Engelhardt. Welcome to Key Conversations, the podcast where we talk about all the things to inspire you to create a sustainable and fulfilling music career. This is season 4, where we're talking about everything you need to know to release a record. Today, I am really excited about this conversation. It's something I'm not doing for this new record of mine, Luminary. You can find out more about that at iamaluminary.com. But this record, I'm not doing a release party, but all my past 4 records I have. And man, everyone is so different. And so I wanted to talk to another musician who's in it, who's done the CD release party several times and made it work. And so we've got Andy Rego of Black Suit Devil here. Really psyched to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Cheryl. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. So just tell us who is Black Suit Devil. Tell us a little bit about your band. Give us the nutshell and your role in the band. And then we'll get talking about your tours and stuff.
It's actually more of a solo project. When I wanted to venture out on my own, I did the band thing for many years, and I wanted to do kind of a solo project, but not have it under my name. I find over the years of like listening to singer-songwriters, you can get lost sometimes in just see a name. So I wanted something a little more marketable, something that I can, something that clicks, and it's a name that people will remember. So I put it under the name Black Suit Devil, but I guess it's essentially a solo project. That I do all the writing, all the production, all the behind the scenes work. And I do have a few gentlemen that join me on the live front. They know all the music, and I bring them in when I can make it worth their while, financially, of course. They're all working musicians.
That is awesome. I love that. And is the room that you're in black?
It's actually like purple. It's hard to see here. It's I got the shades open a little bit, but we moved in here. It was all painted up, and we decided to leave it the original colors.
I like it. I was like, oh, that's really on brand. Super great.
It's got more color than the camera allows you to see.
Awesome. So you've been doing Black Suit Devil. I think you told me since 2015. So
correct.
For a while, you're sort of established, and you've released 2 full-length albums in that time?
2 full-length albums and an EP as well. Yes.
Okay, awesome. And so first of all, tell us where you're based so that we can get a little bit of, are you in a city? Are you in the middle of nowhere? I know where you are, but I want you to tell the listeners.
I'm based out of Brantford, Ontario, which is about an hour outside of Toronto.
Okay.
I'm originally from Toronto, born and raised in Toronto, but decided to, just for financial reasons, the housing market is crazy in Toronto. So it just makes it easier for us musicians to kind of move out of town. And we settled on Brantford. It's a nice spot to be,
awesome.
Location wise.
Very cool. So Toronto is it's a great music scene. I mean, Bandzoogle is based there. There's a bunch of companies I know that are based there. I know there's a great venue scene.
Yep.
So what a great place to say, okay, I'm going to put together an album release show for this new album. So tell me I know you had 2 successful album releases where you've gotten over 130 people coming out, which is so great. Especially, indie artists getting that sort of mid-sized venue, fill in a room up. It feels really, really good. So tell me, what did you do for both of them? What did you learn from the first one that you did differently in the second one? Tell us a little bit about that journey of having 2 successful album releases.
I guess the first starts with the venue itself, right? You want to kind of see where your fan base is, and make it, I guess, as easily accessible as possible to get the majority of people out. But you also want to go for, at least myself, I wanted to go for a positive vibe, something in a venue that will portray our sound properly, and where everyone feels comfortable, and just adds an atmosphere to the show. So selecting the venue is definitely number one, and just kind of reaching out to them really early, because especially in a place like Toronto, venues can disappear on you quite quickly. Those calendars get, like all the weekend dates will definitely be eaten up pretty quickly. And for me, I think choosing a weekend is essential, especially a Saturday, just to make it even easier for your fan base to kind of get out and see you, as opposed to like a work night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we chose the Rivoli out in Toronto, which is down on Queen Street, Queen and Spadina area, which is pretty much the go-to spot in terms of music for Toronto. We got the Horseshoe right next door, so there's a lot of historic venues there. The Alma Combo just up the street as well. So
that's cool. It sounds like Bleecker Street in New York City, where you got the Bitter End and the.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah. Very
Yeah. So,
cool.
so yeah, we picked a venue, and I like to give myself a lot of time to promote. That's definitely key. So I usually space out about 4 months. I'll book the venue 4 months in advance. Make sure I have everything ready in terms of merch and the product that I'm gonna be selling that night, and just advertise like crazy, any which way or form. Um, Social media was a big one for us, taking out a lot of ads on like Spotify, Instagram, running little commercials, to kind of advertise the night, doing a lot of personal invites, which that I found very helpful, is actually taking the time and reaching out to people on your friends list and just say, hey, how's it going? And, talk a bit about, just strike up a conversation, and then just let them know, look, I'm having this thing on such and such date. I'd love for you to be there. I think keeping that human element to it, and not some structured ad, really helps,
Yeah.
helps them feel like that, you want them there. Obviously you do want them there, and you got to make them feel welcome. And that really helped a lot. Just it's very time consuming, but I really recommend it to anyone who wants them. It's the difference between having, a half empty room and, in a busy room, for sure.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think that, I think even with the paid ads that you're doing, the targeted ads, when you have a venue, it is so great. You can get real specific with the location, the geo targeting of that, so that you're only paying for people that are in and around Toronto. You're not paying for people outside of Toronto. So that's really great.
Exactly.
Great way to target, for sure. And I think the one-on-one is really, really powerful. I even have an example in my my email course, Rock Your Email List, to initially grow your email list. A friend of mine who also is a solo artist under the name Mayday Radio,
Okay.
and he went to his Facebook friends and messaged people one-on-one, and they were personal messages like, hey, it was really good to see you last month. I'm starting this email list. Would you mind if I put you on? Like, super, super personal, but also he said he had like a 75% yes rate,
Yeah.
and was able to grow his email list. I think he got like 300 or 400 people on his list. I can't remember the numbers, but again, it was like he did it for an hour a day for about 2.5 weeks straight.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
same here. It's probably even a little longer than that, to be honest. But yeah, it definitely does make the difference. Just
yeah,
making that connection.
that personal touch and just being really real with people, and being also really clear on what you're asking of them, and how it's a win for you, how it's a win for them. That gets into, a little bit of pitching too. So
For sure, yeah.
um, awesome. Okay, so successful album releases. We've already talked about a little bit how you got people out to the show. Let's talk about what made it successful once they were at the show. Because just getting people to the show is one thing, but success is also like the sound worked. Maybe you sold some CDs. Maybe you got at least half of the audience to sign up for your email list, which was always my game when I was in a room, is to get 50% of the people there on the list.
Yeah.
Maybe you sold merch. So what were some other things once you were at the show that had it be a success for you?
For me, is interacting with the crowd. I made sure to put a few. I picked a great acts that I love seeing. Friends of mine and fellow musician friends, that I knew would put on a great night overall. Because as though even though it's like your night, you also want to make it just a great night for your fans as well. So what better way than to pick some solid, just talented musicians, and make a night of it. So give them a full experience, and that helps bring other fans in as well too, that then necessarily don't know you but will come out for the other bands, and you make new
Yeah.
fans.
Well, I
So
was just going to ask you, do you mean like playing with you, or you mean like opening for you, other acts?
I actually had I used this system twice. I had like two opening acts and then one closer after me,
Cool.
which I found for the CD release party very effective, to have someone follow you, because you keep that crowd there, and as opposed to like ending the night and then having the venue close and everyone just scatters off. You're there mingling with your fans afterwards, and it helps them get to know you more, fans that never met you before. And it helps with I find with merch sales and such, because like keeps them there, keeps them more entertained, and then they get to know you more. And it all works, works out better in the end, as opposed to the show ending and then half the crowd just kind of walking out on you.
I love that idea so much. I think that's brilliant. Stick around for another show
Yeah.
afterwards. Hang out with me. I'm sure the bar appreciated that because people are drinking more and buying more drinks. And
Yeah, it helps definitely with that as well too, especially if you have a venue like in a lot of bigger cities like Toronto, they expect a certain amount to be made at the bar, or you get charged a fee and what have you.
yeah,
So that definitely helps with that situation as well. And for myself too, it's a celebration, and I want to be there to celebrate. And after it's all said and done, I can just relax and enjoy the band and enjoy the crowd for a little bit and enjoy the
yeah.
party, I guess. Yeah.
So great. I think that's really, really brilliant. It always like, oh, the coolest act is the last one. And it doesn't mean anything. Like
It
it's not about like
doesn't.
being the last one is the best slot. It's like, what do your fans need and what do you need? And I think that's just a really brilliant idea. I totally love that.
Yeah, you got to
Um,
check your ego and just make it an experience for your fans first and
yeah.
foremost. Yeah.
Oh, such good advice. Such good advice. So when you're booking, so let's back up the bus here. So when you're booking these venues, you know, there is something to say. My whole thing around pitching, and I have a course called The Perfect Pitch because when
Yeah.
I was doing a 2-week tour, I decided that I was like, I'm reaching out to like 100 people, like different venues, press, trying to get local radio stations. Every tour I did that was outside of my hometown, I would try to get on a radio show in the morning and then have the show at night. I would try to do some house concerts. So I had I had a list of 100 different people I was going to pitch to for just I think it was a 10-day tour. And I was like, this is a great number. Why don't I experiment and try pitching a certain way to the first 30 of them, pitch a different way to the next 30 and see which one worked best and then use the winner for the final, 40. So I actually, because I'm a dork, you guys know I'm a dork. Anyone that's listening knows that I'm like, used to be a biology major or whatever. So I like research, change one thing about the pitch. So I figured out like what pitch was most effective for venues and also what day of the week. For me, it was Fridays. And I don't know if that's because venue promoters are like trying to deal with the weekend and just like, they're, yeah, sure, I'll book you. Okay, bye. I think that was like sort of, I always got like really short answers, but they were usually yeses.
Yeah.
So I don't know if normally when I say that if you're going to pitch a music supervisor or anything like that, I say Tuesdays through Thursdays are good pitching days, but for some reason with venues, Friday. So have you seen like a timing thing when you were pitching, or have you noticed any trends around pitching venues for CD release?
It depends on the venue. I mean, the majority of them, they want you to fill in their Fridays and their Saturdays. That's always going to be the prime spots. But when you're dealing with the bigger venues, at least in like the major cities, I find because their venue is kind of known outside of the actual city, and a lot of touring artists will fill up their Saturdays and their Fridays. A lot more often than not, they'll try to push you towards a weekday type of thing for a CD release party. But I stand clear of it just because it's a big night, and you want to be making it as great as possible. And yeah,
Yeah.
the weekends are definitely the way to go, I think. I mean,
I think I agree. And I think that's a mistake I've made in the past. My first CD release party was at the Cutting Room in New York City, and it was packed, and it was because I put a ton of time ahead of time. It was the only thing I focused on in terms of promotion, and I was able to fill that room, and it was a Saturday. I'm pretty sure it
yeah,
was Saturday. Yeah. But then other release parties, I was like, oh, I'll just, I've had 4 CDs, including that one that were pop, where I was actually performing this one that I'm doing right now. I don't perform because I don't even know how I would perform it because it's just weird ambient piano music. But I remember thinking, oh, well, that last one wasn't so hard to do. I'll just do it on a Thursday night because that's when this great venue is booked. Then I got booked at the Good Stage in Rockwood Music Hall. But yeah, I think it matters to do it on a Saturday, and I should have pushed back. And I think that's a really good thing. So let's talk about what are the things that we can do to sort of entice a bigger venue that is not going to be prone to just saying, yeah, sure, you can have a Saturday. So I think you already said one point, which is the earlier the better. So they don't even have to worry about, 6 months from now, I've got this handled. I don't even need to worry about it.
yeah.
So not trying to get in last minute is one thing. You also brought, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you brought the other acts. You was like, hey, I have the whole night booked. I've got 4 acts, including
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I organized the whole night, and most often than not, they want you to put on your own night here in Toronto, at least
Okay.
some of the bigger places. So yeah, you take on the role of promoter, I guess, as well too, and an event organizer and all that, which I'm more than happy. I mean, if you want it to be done right, to the way you want it, I guess who better than to do it than yourself, right? So,
Yeah, and it
um,
takes a load of work off of their plate if you're like, hey, I got this covered. And whether or not that's the norm, it might be something to look into. Like there are some exceptions where in New York there's a lot of you just book the slot versus you book the night. But I think if you sort of use that as an offer incentive, that would be really great. Did you need to give numbers? Like how many people can you bring out? Like my answer is always like, well, I don't have a crystal ball. Do you?
you know what, you learn as you go along and experiment, like you mentioned earlier, just try different things. But for me, I find compiling a really professional email and really stating your accomplishments in that,
Mm,
stuff like any big event that might happen and people you've opened for, the amount of tours you do, the amount of advertising you do, let them know that you really work
mm,
hard at this, and you put a professional attitude towards it. Really helps, especially when you're dealing with some of the bigger name venues that I guess don't really need you. They can fill it in with a bigger name act or what have you. So you're fighting
totally.
for those prime spots, right? So you want to come across as professional as possible, for sure.
Yeah. And I think something really key that you said in there is like making sure it's clear to them, like what you're going to do for them. So what's the win for them? Like you could list your whole bio and name drop till the cows come home, but if you're not solving a problem for
Yeah,
them, they're not going to be interested. But if you're like, hey, here's a whole new audience here, are, my music is like people love drinking wine to my music, or people like if they know that they're going to be making sales on wine that night, or
yeah,
like if you want to make a cocktail of the evening, and hey, it doesn't all need to be alcoholic. I'm just saying that you can get creative too. And especially if you're thinking, how is this going to be a really obvious yes for them, if you're coming out of sort of the world of unknownness.
yeah, definitely keeping it creative. I tried the approach of like when I was pitching out to different venues, I would right at the end say, please get back to me as soon as you can, because I have a promotional package that I want to launch this week, and put an urgency towards it so they know you are ready and you are prepared. And I listed exactly what I was going to do in terms of what type of advertising I was gonna put forth in the coming months, all leading up to the week of, and just kind of keep them in that loop, and they know you're serious about it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I totally love that. That is also gold. Is like telling them how exactly you're going to promote and advertise and giving them a little bit of a deadline. I'm a big fan of asking a yes or no question. I actually have some templates specifically for booking in my perfect pitch course in thekey.co/perfect pitch. I'll put the link in the show notes. But
I'll check
in
it
that
out. Yeah.
in the templates, there's always at the end a yes or no question, because there's been psychology data that shows that when someone asks you a yes or no question, their brain automatically answers it, which has that person more likely to act versus a command like check this out or please would you do this. Actually, that's a question. Would you do this is a yes or no question, but or do this. You don't want to command them, right? Because you might as well just say come back in my house. So
Yeah.
yeah, like check this out is like I see that I'm like no, because the brain doesn't do anything. It's like when you drive by a billboard, it's literally is like not calling you into action subconsciously. So asking hey, would you get back to me by this date, and to even say because I'm sending out a promotional package, it's like I think that is so powerful. That like combines
Yeah.
all of the things. So I love that.
Being assertive, but without being, trying to run the show, I guess, so to speak, or step on any toes, but letting them know that, yeah, it's
Yeah.
serious and that you're serious. And
Yeah. And that's the other cool thing, not to harp on the yes or no question thing, but it's when you ask someone a question that can be yes or no, I could just say, do you like my sweater? And you think yes or no, like you get to choose. It's a choice for you versus check out my sweater. And you're like, do I have to? It's a command. Like linguistically, I might as well have said, come back in my house.
exactly, it's simplifying things, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
even
making them choose. Oh, that's another great point. So when you're booking, and I think you sort of touched on this, and I can gather from what you're saying that you did this too. but making it really easy for the booker to know what to do next.
Yeah.
Whether it's go to their calendar, check the date, whether it's to listen to your music, but you don't want to sign your email with like 400 links to all of your Instagram, Facebook profile. Like they
No.
need one thing to do. And if you give them a million things to do, there's a very good chance they won't do anything. That's another
Yeah.
thing that's been proven. The more things you want, links and things, and without you actually asking them to do something, they're not going to do anything. So that's another
I,
reason why that question is, would you be able to book us by this date so I can send out this promo package? It's like there's a very clear one thing to do. They need to go look at their calendar and then get back to you. And I think that keeping it
yeah.
really simple, like you said, is so important.
Yeah, keep it short and sweet. They're dealing with so many people. So yeah, I've definitely shortened my emails over time. Just put exactly what needed to be in there. And for your listeners too, keep in mind that if you do overflood your email with, let's say, photos or links, a lot of times those emails can end up in spam folders just by the filters that depending on what email provider the person's using. So that's another thing to look out for, because a lot of times I think people weren't responding to my email, and then I get it about a month later, but they told me, oh, it was in the spam folder, and I knew it was because I was adding photos to these emails. And so that's a definite no. And just kind of simplify it, get it short, sweet, don't take up much of their time, and the whole workflow will just it'll just be a lot easier, for both parties.
Awesome. So great. Okay. So we talked about actually booking the venues. We talked about promoting ahead of time, like one-on-one promotion, running ads, doing all the things. And then once you're in the show, things that make that show go really well, which I think is brilliant to have someone after you so you can mingle, you have your merch all ready to go. You gave yourself enough leave time so that all of that stuff is set up. Any last, what's one big tip that you would give musicians that are about to plan their CD release show that we haven't said yet?
Really focus on what kind of show you want to put on that night, and the details of your performance make or break a night. Maybe try to make moments in your show, which I definitely gonna. You're asking earlier, what did you learn from your last last CD release party, and that would definitely be one, is to really focus on the actual your performance, and making moments in the whole night, whether it be extended solo sections, or just changing up tunes or adding in certain elements to give them more of a show, something that they can really remember, as opposed to just your standard kind of your gig. Well, I don't want to say standard gig. I mean, you're always trying to give it your all, right? But just raising the bar a little more for yourself personally, and for your fans, the ones that have seen you before. A lot of the people that come to your CD release party have been coming to many shows. So what can you give them different, right? And
I love that. I love that too. And since I think this is the only episode this season that we're talking about live shows, so I might as well put this in as well. If you are playing the game, which if you have fans, you should be playing the game of growing your email list. And one thing that I think is really effective that I like to do is I would have 2 clipboards. I don't get super fancy with the iPads and stuff, mostly because I don't want them to get stolen, especially in bigger venues. But I would have clipboards going around the room, 2 of them. And you could say sign up for this, you'll get a free song. Just tell me where to send it. What's the best email? And then we're going to randomly pick a winner from one of these 2 clipboards to either before the last song, come up and sing the last song with you, or they're going to win a sweatshirt, and they get to come up on stage and I'm going to give them a sweatshirt. So you make a thing with the audience, but it's also going to have them kind of looking, where's that clipboard? It sounds like, oh, it's going to distract people from my show. It's not. Those things get around pretty quickly, especially if you want to give a fan a free ticket to get into the show, have them in charge of the clipboards. They are going to want to impress you hardcore that they will make sure that, and then they can be the annoying person getting people's emails and you don't have to be that. So that is I actually did that for Sarah Bareilles when she was we were friends from a million years ago. And I was like, yeah, I'll she was playing at Rockwood. There were 30 people there, but I was like, I'm getting every single one of these people on her email list because they would be dumb to not be. So there's a couple little tips too, is have a fan be in charge of your email list, run a little contest that can be some of your banter in between 2 songs. Hey, we're doing a thing. You can come on stage and sing a song or win a sweatshirt or whatever you have to offer. If people don't know your songs, then that might be awkward, and people might be like, oh my God, I definitely don't want to sing a song, but something that people would not be afraid of. winning
let them
something.
make up lyrics to your songs on the spot, maybe too.
Yeah, come scat with us, or like,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. And people are excited to like see who that's going to be. So that's another way. I love your idea of like, making an experience for you and the band musically, so that it is experience for the audience, but also like actually bring the audience to be part of your experience.
Exactly. Yeah, the fan involvement. I mean, a lot of if you watch any major band at any festival, that's always key, right? They're always trying to get the crowd participation, whether it be singing in a chorus
Yeah.
or what have you. And it's key. They feel involved in the show, and it keeps them focused on what's going on as well too. And you won't lose them, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree 100%. That's great. I also give I give free download cards in exchange for signing up for the mailing list, and I'll mention that and stuff like that. Just kind of give them a little incentive to go over there. It's definitely key, is that mailing list, because you never know which way music's going to shift. And I don't know, I'm sure you remember MySpace back then, when that all kind of went under. A lot of musicians lost the whole fan base there and had to kind of switch over to new platforms. And
Yeah.
having control of that, sorry, I'm going a little off topic, but having
No,
control.
it's totally true. It's all connected. And also,
Yeah.
you guys, Andy just called me old. He's like,
What's that?
I'm
No,
sure
I remember
you
it
remember
too.
MySpace.
No, I remember it too. Sorry, I'm 30. I'm 37. I'm not that young as well too. But I used MySpace.
I did too. I got onto my most favorite tours by pitching people in Switzerland on MySpace, and that is how I got yeses to go to Switzerland and support some really cool artists there. So I did a lot of touring in Europe because of MySpace. So yes, I remember
Cool.
MySpace.
Yeah, nice.
But
It was great back then. It was definitely a great platform back then, prior to Facebook and all that. But yeah.
Yep. Well, this has been really great. I so appreciate it, Andy. Where can people find you and your music online?
You can find me on my website, blacksuitdevil.com. Also, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, any streaming site. Just search Black Suit Devil, and something will come up. I'm also on SoundCloud, pretty much any platform, YouTube.
Where's your favorite place to interact with fans?
I do a lot of it through Instagram, Facebook. I guess those two are the primary ones. They can also sign up for my mailing list on blacksuitdevil.com.
Awesome. We'll put the Instagram link and the website on the show notes for this. And I'm assuming that on your website, people can find the music on all the different platforms.
Yeah. There'll be links to everything.
Awesome. And any shows you got coming up, any tours and shows you're doing. Awesome.
Yeah, they can find me on Bands in Town for that. That's a great one, I find.
I do love Bands in Town. Yeah. Andy, thank you so much for all this great, brilliant insight and for your time. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, Cheryl. Take care.